You shape tomorrow by the images you hold in faith today. The invisible is always the cause, the visible merely the effect. Neville Goddard. There comes a moment in every human life when the mirror stops being glass and becomes a portal. A silent, almost imperceptible moment in which you truly see yourself, and for the first time ask, why do I always put everything and everyone before myself? Perhaps you learned too early that caring for others was a virtue, that forgetting yourself was nobility, that being good meant being invisible. Maybe you confused love with sacrifice, presence with the absence of self, humility with self-denial. But today, right here, something within you begins to burn. A small flame, yet real. An ancient memory. You matter. You have always mattered. And it will never be selfish to value who you are. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes and feel the weight of all you carry. Expectations, criticism, demands. Now let go. When you open your eyes, don't just see the image. See the being behind it. Full of flaws, yes, but also full of strength. Full of fear, but also of courage. Full of scars, but also of stories. From this moment on, make a pact with the one who matters most, yourself. A pact to no longer ignore your own voice, to no longer wait for permission to exist fully, to place yourself at the center, not out of vanity, but out of wisdom. Because when you value yourself, you don't exclude the world, you expand it. When you become a source, everyone around you can drink from your waters. Feel the pulse of your existence. Each heartbeat is a reminder that you are alive. And being alive is a privilege. Being alive is a responsibility. Being alive is a sacred chance to create something that has never existed before, your best version of yourself. And no, I'm not talking about a perfect version. Perfection is a mirage that enslaves. I'm talking about a whole, authentic, awakened version. A version that knows saying no can also be love. That understands boundaries are not walls, but bridges to more truthful connections. That discovers the greatest gift you can give the world is to not abandon yourself. The focus must be you, not because the world doesn't matter, but because you are the filter through which the world flows. Everything you create, feel, give, or transform is born from within. An empty heart cannot offer love. An exhausted mind has no clarity to decide. A wounded soul has no peace to inspire. That's why caring for yourself is not a luxury. It's the foundation. Imagine yourself as a temple. Every thought is a brick. Every choice is a painting. Every emotion is a stained glass window, filtering the light of life. If you don't care for this temple, it will slowly crumble, and not even those you love the most will have shelter. Valuing yourself is restoring this temple every day, sweeping away old lies, repairing the cracks of doubt, polishing the floor of consciousness. Because in the end, what defines the beauty of the temple is not what's outside, but the fire that burns within. That fire is you. It's your story, your pain transformed into strength, your mistakes turned into wisdom. It's the silent conviction no one can extinguish. And when voices rise saying this is selfishness, smile. Because only those who have learned to erase themselves fear those who choose to exist fully. Only those who never felt worthy criticize those who dare to shine. Your light doesn't dim anyone else's. On the contrary, it ignites new flames around you. Repeat to yourself, like a prayer without religion, I value myself. I choose myself. My focus is me, because life begins at the center that I am. This sentence is not vanity, it is foundation. It will remind you, on the darkest days, that you are a priority. And don't wait for the world to validate you before you begin. The world validates those who have already validated themselves within. Other people's respect is a consequence, not a condition. Value yourself first, even if no one understands, even if no one applauds. Applaud yourself. Cheer for yourself as if you were your most beloved child. And when you look in the mirror again, don't just see a reflection, see a promise. From today on, the focus is me. Not out of empty pride, but full wisdom. Because only those who are whole can embrace others without breaking. Your focus must be you. And that is not selfishness, it is lucid love. Have you ever stopped to ask where this guilt comes from? The one that consumes you every time you choose to prioritize yourself? It wasn't born with you. It was planted, drop by drop, by old voices that said loving yourself was arrogance, that wanting more was ingratitude, that dreaming too big was dangerous. But the real danger isn't in wanting too much. It's in accepting too little. Valuing yourself doesn't mean despising anyone. It means refusing to play a supporting role in your own story. It means deciding that, from now on, no one else will sit on the throne that has always been yours, the center of your own awareness. And that doesn't make you cold or distant. It makes you whole. It makes you capable of giving without emptying yourself, of supporting without sinking, of loving without disappearing. Remember, every transformation begins when you change what you tolerate. Tolerate less disrespect, less cruel self-criticism, fewer unfair comparisons, fewer thoughts that whisper, I'm not enough. And at the same time, tolerate more discipline, more patience with yourself, more courage to fail and try again. Because those who value themselves understand that perfection is not the goal, growth is. There is a power that grows every time you say, I deserve this. Not, I deserve this because I did something perfectly, but simply, I deserve this because I exist. The sun doesn't ask if it deserves to shine, it shines. The river doesn't ask if it deserves to flow, it flows. And you, a living consciousness, why do you ask so much if you're worthy of being who you are? Value even your shadows, because they taught you where the light lives. Value every fall, because without them, you wouldn't have learned how to rise. Value even the emptiness, for it is there you find the space to be reborn. And when fear shows up, because it always will, look it in the eye and ask, what are you trying to protect me from? Because most of the time, fear is not the enemy. It's a poorly trained guardian, trying to save you from pain by keeping you away from what matters most. Teach it to serve you, not to rule you. And that only happens when you value yourself enough not to abandon your own soul. You'll begin to see that when you change on the inside, the world on the outside reacts. Some people will drift away because they don't know how to deal with someone who no longer erases themselves. Others will be drawn closer, attracted by the strength that only someone who respects themselves can radiate. And you'll understand that it's all okay. Losing is part of choosing. You lose those who never knew how to add. Feel this simple, yet powerful truth. You are the beginning of everything you want to live. Want peace? Plant peace within yourself. Want love? Love yourself until it overflows. Want respect? Respect yourself first. Because the universe doesn't give you what you wish for, it gives you what you believe you deserve. And maybe, for the first time, you'll feel that you do deserve it. You deserve lightness. You deserve genuine laughter. You deserve to rest without guilt. You deserve to dream without apologizing. You deserve to say no to what hurts you. You deserve to say yes to what builds you. And above all, you deserve to take your rightful place at the center of your own story. Because the focus you used to spend trying to be accepted by others now turns inward. And that is where the miracle happens. Not an instant miracle, not the snap of a finger, but a deep miracle. Waking up every day with the courage to exist, even imperfect, even tired, even afraid. Valuing yourself is not a one-time act. It's a daily ritual, often silent. It's refusing thoughts that diminish you. It's taking care of your body not just for appearance, but because it carries your consciousness. It's protecting your mind from empty comparisons. It's feeding your soul with silence, beauty, reading, prayer, or whatever lights your inner fire. And little by little, you'll notice yourself growing stronger. Because the ones who value themselves are not those who never fall. They are the ones who never stop rising. And those who never give up on themselves become impossible to defeat. And that is the beginning of something greater than you can imagine. Because when you value yourself, you don't just transform your own life. You shift the frequency of everything around you. Relationships, work, health, dreams, everything begins to orbit a new sun, you. Close your eyes for a moment. Breathe. Feel life pulsing not around you, but within. And repeat, not as someone begging, but as someone declaring, I value myself. My focus is me. I am worthy. And remember, this is not pride. It is the beginning of freedom. There is something revolutionary in the simple act of deciding that you matter. It's almost like traveling back in time and rescuing that child who once believed they weren't enough, and telling them, you always were. Valuing yourself isn't about building cold walls. It's about constructing conscious doors. It's knowing who gets to enter, who stays, and who needs to go. Because not everyone deserves a place on the stage of your life. Not every voice deserves to echo in your mind. And the choice of who remains begins with the respect you have for yourself. And this is where many stumble. They wait to be chosen by the world before choosing themselves from within. They want someone else to say, you are worth it, before they can say it to their own reflection. But the truth is brutal. No one can do for you what you refuse to do for yourself. And as long as the focus is out there, life will always be a form of begging, for approval, for scraps of love, for recognition, for acceptance. Valuing yourself breaks that cycle. It means owning your time, your energy, your choices. It means refusing relationships that drain you, jobs that kill your soul, thoughts that sabotage your worth. It means turning every no you say to the world into a yes you say to yourself. And in the silence of the late hours, when doubt asks if it's all worth it, speak the truth that few dare to say aloud. You are worth it, even when no one sees, even when you fail, even when the fall feels heavier than your strength. Because your worth doesn't lie in applause or victories. It lies in the simple fact that you exist, conscious, present, awake. Imagine your mind as a garden. If you don't tend to it, weeds grow, criticism, insecurity, comparison. But when you water it with presence, courage, and truth, rare flowers bloom, clarity, peace, self-love. And those who pass through that garden feel something different, even if they can't explain it. That's how those who value themselves change everything around them, not through words, but through the vibration they radiate. It's invisible to the eye, but irresistible to the spirit, because authenticity holds a quiet strength that needs no explanation. And the more you place yourself at the center, the more you realize that the outside world is just a reflection. That criticism says more about the critic than the one being criticized. That the world's rush doesn't have to set your pace. And that you don't need to prove anything to anyone but yourself. Take a deep breath. Feel what it means to say, "My focus is me." It's not disregard for others. It's the awareness that when I'm well, I can be better for everyone. When I'm whole, I don't give people fragments. I offer presence. And in that moment, something awakens within you, a calm strength that doesn't need to shout. It's the power of someone who doesn't beg, doesn't plead, doesn't shrink. Someone who walks with an open heart, knowing that the greatest defeat would be to betray themselves. And this power doesn't come from arrogance. It comes from understanding. You don't have to be perfect to be worthy. You just have to be true. Because the one who lives to please everyone dies without ever pleasing themselves. And the one who forgets their own needs, even if they conquer the world, will always feel empty inside. So, be your own root. Be your own shelter when the storm comes. Be your greatest commitment, not out of ego, but because everything you build on the outside depends on the strength of what exists within. And remember, choosing yourself is a daily act. A yes, repeated until it becomes habit. A firm no, until it becomes respect. A sincere look in the mirror until the reflection finally feels whole. Because what you focus on grows. And when you focus on yourself, you grow inward first, and then everything begins to bloom on the outside. Some people confuse self-worth with isolating from the world. But in its deepest essence, valuing yourself isn't about pushing people away. It's about filtering. It's about choosing quality over quantity. It's understanding that real connection only happens when you don't have to pretend to be accepted. And that takes courage. Courage to disappoint those who expect you to always be available, always submissive, always silent. Courage to let go of those who only stayed because it was easy to have you around, even at the cost of your peace. Courage to be faithful to who you became, not to who they expected you to be. And when that courage awakens, something changes, even in your gaze. It becomes steadier, but also calmer. Because someone who values themselves no longer carries the burden of constantly explaining who they are. The soul becomes lighter, not because there are no problems, but because the mind stops fighting against itself. Valuing yourself is finally understanding that you don't need permission to exist as a whole person. It's turning every external criticism into an opportunity to ask, does this voice make sense to me? And if not, letting it go, like leaves carried by the wind. Little by little, you realize you don't need much to be truly happy. You need clarity, presence, self-love, things no one else can give you, because they can only be born from within. And when they rise, they light up everything around you. Work will still be work. People will still be human, full of flaws. The world will remain fast, noisy, and distracted. But inside you, something becomes unshakable, the decision to never abandon yourself again. It's as if the outside noise suddenly loses power, because someone with a strong center doesn't get lost in someone else's storm. And someone with a clear focus isn't blinded by the false shine of others' expectations. Feel this truth. Your value doesn't increase when someone praises you, and it doesn't shrink when someone criticizes you. Your worth is constant, because it comes from what no one can see, but you deeply feel, awakened awareness. It's the flame that keeps burning even when no one is watching. And that flame needs daily care. With silence, with aligned choices, with guilt-free pauses, with firm boundaries, because boundaries aren't walls of isolation. They are doors that open only for those who arrive with respect. And the one who learns to place focus on themselves discovers a powerful secret. You become a reference for those who watch you, because authenticity attracts. And courage frees not only the one who practices it, but also those who witness it. That's why the act of valuing yourself is not just personal, it's almost revolutionary. Because in a world that teaches comparison, you choose self-acceptance. In a time that glorifies haste, you cultivate presence. In a market that sells image, you embody essence. And in the end, people remember less of what you had and more of who you were. Less of what you said and more of how you inspired. Less of what you showed and more of what you radiated. So, take care of what no one sees. Your thoughts when you wake up, your intentions behind your actions, your truth when you speak. Because that's what shapes reality, not through magic, but through coherence. Life doesn't respond to what you pretend to want. It responds to what you truly believe you deserve. And when your focus is on you, not out of selfishness, but from clarity, you stop chasing what was never yours. You begin to attract, not because you're hunting, but because you've become. Repeat to yourself, softly or only in your heart, I am enough. I am a priority. My focus is me. And let that phrase echo until it no longer feels like an affirmation, but a deep-rooted truth. Because in the end, it all comes down to this. Either you choose who you're going to be, or you spend your whole life being chosen by chance and by the voices of others. And there is no greater freedom than finally saying, from today forward, I choose me. And maybe, right now, you're feeling the weight of the past pulling you down. Memories of mistakes, of disappointments, of all the times that made you doubt yourself. But listen closely. Valuing yourself doesn't mean erasing who you were. It means embracing who you were, to build who you choose to be now. Because even the failures that still bring you shame hold gold. If you have the courage to look without judgment, even the losses carried lessons that only time could reveal. Even the pain, when accepted, becomes a teacher, not a jailer. And this is where true freedom begins. When you stop fighting who you used to be and choose to become who you truly want to be. Because nothing you've lived through is wasted if you use it to grow. And nothing you've lost was in vain if it reminded you of what truly matters. To value yourself is, above all, to forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for the times you stayed silent when you should have spoken, for the times you accepted less than you deserved, for the times you were too hard on yourself, forgetting that you are human too. And once that forgiveness is born, even your breathing changes. You stop carrying invisible burdens. You stop living to prove anything. And you begin to live to feel something real, wholeness. Because the focus you place on yourself isn't vanity. It's a lens that expands clarity, purpose, and presence. And those who live that way become so rare, the whole world feels their energy. And even if it seems hard, even if it hurts to break ties, even if loneliness knocks at your door, keep going. Because after the pain comes peace. After fear comes courage. And after the silence, a voice stronger than anything will rise. Your own truth. That truth will remind you every single day that you are not defined by others. You are not a prisoner of someone else's approval. You are not the sum of their criticism or the weight of their expectations. You are who you choose to be with every new sunrise. And no one can take that power from you unless you hand it over. So don't give it away. Lift your head, even if the road looks long. Take a deep breath, even if your chest still feels heavy. And repeat until it becomes natural. I am my priority. My focus is me. I am enough. And let that phrase become more than words. Let it become direction. Because when the focus is on what you're building within, nothing from outside can fully break you. And in the end, when you look back, you'll see that every renunciation was protection, every no was liberation, and every step you took toward yourself was worth more than any applause the world could give you. Because those who value themselves discover something no one can teach. True wealth is not in what you have, but in who you become. And if this video found its way to you, it's not by accident. Maybe this is the moment to finally decide who gets to sit at the center of your story. And that answer isn't out there. It's already inside, waiting for your yes. If something here resonated with you, subscribe to the channel to keep walking this path. Share this video with someone who also needs to remember who they truly are. And write the word focus in the comments to seal the commitment you're making today. That from now on, the center of your attention will always be yourself. Because when the focus shifts, everything shifts. And your reality finally begins to reflect who you've always been on the inside.